Hello, my name is Graham Wilson and I'm the author of the Senior Executives Emergency Job Hunt. In this podcast we're going to be looking at the possibilities for self-employed professional people to re-enter the employed job market. After a couple of decades of relatively calm economic climate, things have been getting progressively tougher for many of us for the last year or two. At any time throughout the noughties, if someone had an inkling that they'd like to work for themselves or to launch their own business, the time seemed right. There were plenty of support structures to make you feel good about doing so, and banks were happy to allow personal accounts to stretch over the start-up phase. Some of those entrepreneurs have managed to achieve their goals, whether they were personal freedom or business growth. There are some sectors that seem to be weathering the storm well, and there are others that have been invented in the meantime whose bubble has yet to burst. Sadly though, for no fault of their own, there are a growing number of individuals whose dream was sustained for a few years, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, but for the last year or so things have been very tough. There's nothing wrong with them as individuals, but being self-employed is a risky place to be. It's too easy to be swamped by too few clients, and then to be exposed when they withdraw from using you. In the meantime, the sales process, that wide net of influence, the funnel of prospects slowly being converted to clients, has usually been allowed to slip. Certainly that's been the experience of several people that I've been in touch with of late. It really isn't anything wrong with them or the quality of their work. It's simply that the marketing process requires much more continuous effort than they'd allowed. And now, with school and university fees escalating, mortgages to pay, banks threatening restructuring, and energy bills going through the roof, they're struggling. The logical thought is to try and find a full-time job in a suitable firm. If you believe that most jobs have to be advertised, and that the way to get noticed is to send a CV to the HR department, then you can find this a pretty soul-destroying time. Firstly, you'll be struck by how few roles are actually advertised, and secondly, how few HR departments even acknowledge receiving your CV, let alone offer to put it on file. Let's begin with a reality check. Most CVs received by HR departments receive less than 20 seconds perusal. Then they're put in a pile somewhere and forgotten until the desk is cleared and the pile is binned. Most authorities agree that less than 20% of jobs are ever advertised. And bear in mind too that most self-employed people have amazing experience, but their CVs appear to have got too many gaps for recruiters to risk putting their reputation online by forwarding the CV for a particular job. Someone somewhere said that NHS jobs were to be advertised full stop. It's all about government transparency, widening access and so on. But even there things don't work as overtly as you might hope. A colleague of mine was recently contacted by a friend who was a senior manager in an NHS trust. There was a job going that he might be interested in. He had direct experience of the work and at that level. He was known within the trust. His friend was willing to provide a reference, and another director was too. He went through the remarkably tedious and structured application process and eventually submitted his application, even though the deadline was only 2 weeks from the advertisement appearing to the closing date. Did he get the job? No, of course not. Did he get an interview? No. Or an acknowledgement? No. Even though he'd fulfilled all the requirements and ticked all of the boxes for the application. Being diligent, he thought he'd follow up and see who had got the role and write to the HR department just in case they weren't able to take it up. He discovered that the appointee was a consultant who'd been working on the project for 6 months, and the trust had decided to appoint them full-time. Now, while I feel sorry for the individual, who understandably thinks that he's been pretty unfairly treated, the example illustrates very well the process by which the self-employed person can land a job. It's actually the same process that most savvy senior executives are following. That said, the self-employed job hunter might actually be at an advantage for once. Bear in mind that jobs are created for people, not for anyone, but for people who are known, liked, and trusted. A recent survey showed that 48% of professionals get their next job from a former boss or colleague. The key is in network building, managing your network, and using it. To the self-employed person seeking a job, their network, which they've been developing as self-employed people, can be their goldmine. As with any networking, it isn't the people in your network who will probably give you a job. They are your ambassadors. It's the people who they recommend you to who will make the role for you. Do these future employers need a CV, especially one that you're unnecessarily embarrassed by? No, they don't. What they need is to see you and be impressed by you. If you're going to spend time creating a document that summarizes your career, rather than producing a CV, why not build up a portfolio? Photographs and drawings that provide a focal point for you to talk about when you meet that person, that illustrate what you're really enjoying doing and have done most recently. In this way they'll get to see the real you and hopefully like what they see. Although my focus is primarily on helping senior executives find their next job, I'm always happy to help self-employed entrepreneurs rejoin the corporate environment too. My book, The Senior Executive's Emergency Job Hunt, is available, it's free for download, and you're welcome to pick up the phone and ask for a similarly free review of your re-entry process. Good luck with your job search. Check out my website www.executive-post.info. Thank you. Goodbye.